everyone, today in this tutorial I'm going to be testing out a new technique that you can use for both eco resins and epoxy resins. So let's get into it. To do this technique, you're first going to need a silicone mold with the design that you want to use. So for the first one I'm doing, I've got this snowflake silicone mold, and then the next one that I'm doing, I've got a love heart silicone mold. You're also going to need some liquid latex, and you want to pour a decent amount into that mold. When latex does dry, it does contract by half its size, so it's really important to pour quite thickly. And also too, you might need to pour again. So if you filled it up to the top of your mold like I am doing on this love heart, but then it does contract to half that size, you just need to go back over again once that latex has dried and pour the next layer to make sure you get a nice and smooth finish. It took 2 days for my latex to fully dry, and then once it is fully dry, you can pull it out of the mold. If you make this too thin, you could have the chance of you breaking it as you're pulling it out, so it does need to be a decent thickness. If you also make it way too thick, if your mold isn't deep enough, then that's not going to work either. So both of these turned out really well, and then I just used my scissors to go around and clean up the excess liquid latex. Then with my liquid latex pieces, I added some more latex on the back, and I just wanted to make sure that this wouldn't lift when I did pour the resin or eco resin over the top. So this liquid latex is going to help stick it down. You don't want to put too much on because then when you do press it down, it will seep out from underneath. But you want to have enough that it will have the ability to glue this piece down into place. Before that liquid latex dries, you're just going to want to place it into your silicone mold. Latex and silicone will stick to each other, but not enough that it's going to forever damage this mold. So I'll be able to keep reusing this mold for different techniques, because after I am finished, it will just pull off, but it's just strong enough to adhere it for the moment. I also just placed a little lid on top with a little bit of weight just to make sure that it wouldn't lift on any of the outer edges, and I let that dry, and I'm just doing the same with my love hearts in a different silicone mold. So it took about half an hour for this thin little layer of liquid latex to dry before I was able to mix up a batch of eco resin. And I'm not going to go into too much detail about mixing up eco resin or anything like that. I do have full playlists on it if you've never worked with this before, because you can also use just epoxy resin for this exact same technique. So I'm not going to go too into that. Because of this video, I'm really just focusing on the liquid latex technique, and it's the exact same method whether you use epoxy or eco resin. But I have just tinted this with two different colors, well basically with red, but one just one drop and one a lot more, just to give myself that red and pink because of the love heart theme. With my snowflake, I am just going to be using a little bit of blue mica powder, and I'm going to be placing that on top of the snowflake. This is going to transfer that color across when I do put my eco resin on, and this will also work for epoxy resin as well. But it just means that I can really highlight that snowflake and that sort of detail that I am adding into this trinket tray. So I'm just placing that on with a brush, and I'm also going to be adding some glitter as well, just so I have a very snowy themed snowflakey effect. So I'm just using some iridescent glitter, and then I'm also going to be using some bigger silver glitter as well. And once again, I'm just going to be pouring some eco resin on top of that and letting that set before I demold it. Once the eco resin had set, I could then demold my pieces from the silicone mold, and you can see here how easily that liquid latex that I used to stick those pieces down just pulls straight away from the silicone. And then I just needed to go through and pull out all of my little silicone hearts, as well as pulling out my snowflake. You can also see that all the original liquid latex pieces still hold their shape, and they can keep being reused again and again. To finish off my pieces and just give them a little bit of a clean up, I did go over with some sandpaper and just tidy up those edges. I also wanted to do this with the snowflake just so I could reveal a little bit more of that glitter, because the eco resin did hide some of it and I really wanted that to be a feature. And these are the two finished pieces using the liquid latex in Bed Trick. If you found this video helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps my channel out. And if you are new to working with either epoxy resins or eco resins, I do have playlists on both, so it's definitely worth going and checking those out. I've got some really in-depth guides up there. But if you are new to my channel as well, don't forget to subscribe, as I post new videos every single week, all to do with different forms of epoxy resin, candle making, eco resins, alcohol inks. I do a whole bunch of different things, so definitely give me a subscribe.